In 2008, something strange happened in America. Thousands of people stood outside coffee shops before sunrise, waiting not for food, not for jobs, but for coffee. Inside, baristas moved like machines. Names were shouted across crowded rooms. The sound of steaming milk filled the air, and above every door, there was the same green siren. At its peak, Starbucks wasn't just selling coffee, it was changing how people lived, worked, dated, and even how cities looked. A paper cup became a status symbol, a cafe became an office, and a company that started with one small store in Seattle slowly turned into a global empire worth billions. But behind the warm lights and soft music was a story filled with risk, obsession, ambition, and moments where the entire company almost collapsed. Welcome to Index of History. Today, we're exploring the rise of Starbucks and how one coffee shop transformed modern culture forever. Back in 1971, Seattle was not the rich tech city people know today. It was gray, rainy, and heavily connected to shipping docks and factories. The smell of salt water mixed with cigarette smoke filled the streets near the harbor. And inside a small market called Pike Place, three friends opened a little coffee store. They weren't trying to build an empire. The founders of Starbucks only wanted to sell high-quality coffee beans. At the time, most Americans drank cheap coffee at home, fast, bitter, forgettable. Coffee wasn't an experience, it was fuel for the morning. Inside the first Starbucks store, there were no comfortable chairs, no music playlists, no giant menus with caramel drinks. Customers simply walked in, bought beans, and left. The founders cared deeply about quality, but they had no idea their small shop would someday spread across the planet. Then, in the early 1980s, a young salesman walked into the store. His name was Howard Schultz. He immediately noticed something unusual. Customers weren't just buying coffee, they were listening carefully to the staff, asking questions, learning about roasting methods. The place felt personal, almost emotional. Schultz saw potential that nobody else saw. Soon, he joined the company. Then came the moment that changed everything. During a trip to Italy, Schultz walked through the streets of Milan and saw cafes packed with people laughing, talking, and standing together at espresso bars. Coffee there wasn't just a drink, it was part of daily life, a social ritual, a human connection, and he became obsessed. Schultz returned to America with a bold idea. Starbucks shouldn't only sell coffee beans, it should create a third place, not home, not work, but somewhere people could belong. The founders hated the idea. They believed serving espresso drinks would destroy the company's identity. Meetings became tense, arguments grew louder. Schultz pushed harder. Eventually, he left Starbucks completely. For most people, that would have been the end, but Schultz refused to let go of the vision in his head. He started his own coffee business and tried to recreate the feeling of Italian cafes in America. It was risky, money was tight, investors doubted him. At times, he looked completely crazy. Then, in 1987, something unexpected happened. The original Starbucks owners decided to sell the company, and Schultz made the biggest gamble of his life. In 1987, Howard Schultz bought Starbucks for $3.8 million. It sounded impossible. He borrowed money from investors, took huge risks, and bet everything on one belief: that Americans would eventually pay extra for premium coffee and a comfortable cafe experience. At the time, many people thought the idea was ridiculous. Coffee was cheap. Fast food chains ruled the country. Nobody imagined people would someday spend $5 on a single drink. But Schultz understood something deeper. He wasn't really selling coffee, he was selling atmosphere. Inside Starbucks stores, the lighting was warm, the music was calm. The smell of fresh coffee wrapped around customers the moment they opened the door. People could sit for hours without being forced to leave. In busy American cities, that feeling became incredibly powerful. And the timing was perfect. During the 1990s, America was changing fast. Office culture exploded. Computers entered workplaces. Young professionals worked longer hours and searched for places to relax between meetings. Starbucks quietly became part of their daily routine. Morning coffee, afternoon meetings, late-night studying. The green siren logo started appearing everywhere. New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, then airports, bookstores, shopping malls. Every new store created even more demand, and Schultz moved aggressively. Sometimes Starbucks opened stores directly across the street from another Starbucks just to dominate entire neighborhoods before competitors could react. By the late 1990s, the company had become a machine. Thousands of employees were trained to repeat the same experience everywhere. A customer walking into a Starbucks in Seattle would hear similar music, smell similar coffee, and use similar language as someone entering a store in Tokyo or London. It felt familiar, predictable, safe. And Wall Street loved it. Investors watched the company grow at incredible speed. Starbucks became one of the most recognizable brands on earth. For many Americans, carrying a Starbucks cup almost felt fashionable, like holding a small symbol of modern city life. But rapid growth came with a hidden cost. The company that once felt personal and warm slowly started feeling corporate. Some cafes became crowded and rushed. Automatic espresso machines replaced older methods. Employees had less time to connect with customers. And then came the financial crisis of 2008. Suddenly, millions of Americans were struggling to pay bills. $5 coffee no longer felt harmless. For the first time in years, Starbucks looked vulnerable, and Howard Schultz knew the empire he built might be slipping away. By 2008, Starbucks looked unstoppable. There were stores everywhere. The company had become part of daily American life. For years, growth felt automatic. Open more stores, sell more coffee, repeat. Then everything changed. The financial crash hit like a shockwave. Across America, people lost jobs, homes, and savings. Families cut spending wherever they could. Small luxuries disappeared first. And suddenly, that morning latte didn't feel essential anymore. Inside Starbucks headquarters, panic was growing. Sales were falling. Stores that once felt packed now had empty tables. Investors were losing confidence. Critics were saying the same thing. Starbucks had expanded too far, too fast. The company had become exactly what Howard Schultz once feared: cold, mechanical, and disconnected from the human experience that made it special. Schultz had stepped away as CEO years earlier. Now he returned to save the company. And what he saw disturbed him. Stores had become efficient but lifeless. Espresso machines were taller, blocking baristas from making eye contact with customers. Fresh ground coffee had been replaced in many places by sealed flavor packs. The rich smell that once defined Starbucks was fading. It was still coffee, but it no longer felt like Starbucks. Schultz made a decision that shocked everyone. On February 26, 2008, every Starbucks store in America closed at the exact same time. More than 7,000 stores went dark. Customers stood outside locked doors, confused. News channels rushed to explain what was happening. Analysts thought the company had lost its mind. But inside each store, something unusual was happening. Baristas were retraining. For 3 hours, Schultz forced the entire company to stop selling coffee and remember what made Starbucks matter in the first place: craft, care, and connection. It was a massive gamble. Closing thousands of stores meant losing millions of dollars in sales. But Schultz believed something simple: if Starbucks forgot its soul, it didn't deserve to survive. Then came another risk. The company shut down hundreds of weak locations and laid off thousands of workers. It was painful. Families were affected. Careers ended. For Schultz, it was one of the hardest moments of his life. Still, he pushed forward. Slowly, the strategy worked. Stores became warmer again. coffee quality improved. Digital rewards programs brought customers back. New products attracted younger buyers. The company adapted without fully losing its identity. And against all expectations, Starbucks recovered. But survival created a new question. Could a company built on human connection stay authentic while becoming one of the largest brands in history? That question would shape Starbucks' future and reveal the true cost of building a global empire. Today, Starbucks exists in thousands of cities across the world. From New York to Seoul, from airports to small-town highways, the green siren has become almost impossible to escape. For many people, Starbucks no longer feels like just a company. It feels like part of modern life itself. And that's exactly what makes its story so fascinating. Starbucks changed more than coffee habits. It changed behavior. Before Starbucks, cafes in America were often simple diners or small local shops. After Starbucks, coffee became identity. People customized drinks to match their personalities. Cafes became workplaces, meeting rooms, study halls, and quiet shelters from busy streets. The company helped create an entire culture. Free Wi-Fi, laptop workers, remote meetings, first dates over iced coffee, students sitting for hours with headphones on. Even the language changed. Words like latte, venti, and frappuccino entered everyday conversation. At the same time, criticism grew louder. Some people accused Starbucks of destroying local coffee shops. Others saw the company as a symbol of globalization. The same stores, the same menus, the same experience appearing everywhere on Earth. In certain cities, protesters even treated Starbucks like a representation of American corporate power. And inside the company, new battles appeared. Workers in multiple stores began demanding unions, arguing that the company's public image didn't always match conditions behind the counter. Executives faced pressure from investors, employees, and customers all at once. Social media turned every controversy into global news within hours. The company that once struggled to convince Americans to drink espresso was now large enough to influence culture, politics, and labor movements. Yet somehow, millions of people still walk through Starbucks doors every single day. Maybe it's the routine, maybe it's comfort, or maybe Howard Schultz understood something timeless back in Italy. People are always searching for places where they feel they belong, even for a few quiet minutes. That idea helped build one of the most powerful consumer brands in modern history. But it also created a strange question. When a company becomes part of everyday human life, does it stop being just a business, or does it become something much bigger? The story of Starbucks isn't really about coffee. It's about vision, risk, and understanding human behavior better than almost anyone else. A tiny store inside Seattle's Pike Place market became a global empire because one man believed people wanted more than a drink. They wanted comfort, familiarity, a place to pause in the middle of chaotic lives. But Starbucks also shows the danger of growth. The bigger a company becomes, the harder it is to stay personal. The same system that creates success can slowly erase the soul that made people fall in love with it in the first place. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Every empire, whether it sells coffee, technology, or dreams, eventually faces the same question. Can something stay human after becoming global? Thanks for watching Index of History. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Starbucks improved modern life, or made the world feel more corporate and less personal?